Chris Jacob is right there. Welcome. And we have one of our incoming board members in 10 days. 10 days, Sam Sortino. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Did I get everybody? Dudley said he would help me. I would also like to welcome Bob Burns from Senator McCaskill's office tonight. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. And we have a number of Parkway staff here. What we've been giggling about a little bit is this is Henry Elementary over here in the corner. Welcome, Henry School. That's kind of fun. I know they had dinner and then they came out, so we appreciate that. And we have some students with us tonight. And you know what? That's why we're here, so we really appreciate that you all are here tonight. Thank you very much. My counterpart tonight, Paul Tandy, is not able to join us. He has been taken down by the flu. And I also bring you regrets from our superintendent, Dr. Bob Melito. Our date was originally a week earlier. When we rescheduled this, we probably should have checked with the superintendent. Whoops. So we'll do that next time. But he does send his regrets as well, and thanks you all very much for being here. So tonight, a town hall meeting. The purpose of a town hall meeting is to open the conversation to an even wider audience. Project Parkway has been meeting now for about 18 months. We're actually coming to a point of closure here on what we might call phase 1 of the work, and I'm going to invite you to that when we close tonight. But we wanted to make sure that we had opportunities during the school year to bring in other voices, folks who might not be able to join us on our committee work because of other obligations, people who have questions, people who are hearing things, and we also have just a number of people who are involved on an ongoing basis and are here to just learn more. So it's a very diverse group, and our agenda is pretty broad, as you'll see tonight. We're going to be doing some work around the 2 strands of Project Parkway. Right now, we have work going on to set our district mission and vision, and you'll be getting some updates on what that means. And at the same time, we are engaged in a very complex, a very comprehensive needs assessment process. And so we've got these 2 pieces kind of barreling down the track, and they're actually going to come together in the summer. So this is a town hall meeting where we get to really give you a lot of information about the 2 pieces of our puzzle. So what I'd like to draw your attention to is on your handout, you have the final draft of our district mission and vision. You're going to get some clarification about the other pieces on the bottom of this document, but just to draw your attention to mission and vision, we will be taking these forward to our Board of Education after 18 months of work and review and input from our community and from within our district, and take this to the board for approval in June. What I'd like you to look at especially right now, thank you. Well, I'll do another welcome in just a minute. What I would like to draw your attention to right now is a statement within our mission. Look at the last part of that mission statement. We are looking to ensure that all of our students are capable, curious, and confident, who understand and respond to the challenges of an ever-changing world. And a theme that has been woven throughout Project Parkway is, golly, things are changing quickly. They are changing quickly, and it's almost too hard to keep up. And we found something online that we thought would be kind of a fun way to open tonight. So I had you grab, on your way in, a document from a great website called geekdad.com. I think it's kind of funny. And it's 100 things your kids will never know about. And everyone kind of goes, oh, except for our 3 high schoolers from our 4 high school students from Parkway North. So here's what I'd like you to do. Take a skim through that at your table independently, and just as you're going down those lists and something makes you smile, just put a little check mark by it, and we'll hear the giggles. And to folks who run across something that you don't even know what it is, put a little check by that one too. I'm going to give you about 45 seconds to take a skim. Are you giggling? I see smiles. As you make some checks, have some giggles, turn to the person next to you and share some of the things that you checked, please. Then share you, please. Oh, I'm seeing funny looks. I'm seeing smiles. I'm seeing people go, oh, man. Let me ask two folks who had big smiles on their faces to share one of theirs. Mrs. Sharon Stover, what made you giggle?
The number of TV channels being only one.
Do you see that on the front? 1 digit. And you had to get up and change the channel? Oh. Now I'm like, I can't find the clicker. Mr. Camp, would you share with us what you were just having a good time? You right?
8-track tapes.
Oh, 8-track tapes. Parkway North High students, do you even know what those are? Yeah, okay. Oh. Now, here's my question. Oh, Mr. Camp.
How about the only 24-hour drugstore in St. Louis was in Creve Coeur?
And now, they all are. Isn't that something? And you know, you all, there are things on this list that are a little bit older, like the 8-track tapes, but there are things on here that are not, they're not that far away. So here's my question to you at your table. If we were sitting here in 3 years, what would be on the list? What are your predictions about what might end up on a list like this in 2 years, 4 years?
Language called texting.
Aha. So something about the kids in a few years won't even know that we didn't know what texting was. What else? Blackberries. You know how we have the touch keypad, you know, the real keypads? The typewriter on our phone? Everything's going to touch screens. I bet those will phase out. Anything else? Say it again. DVDs. Could be something that we'll look back and like the beta. Nancy Ernest.
Landlines.
Oh, landlines. Let me ask this question. Who's given up their landline? Hold your hands up. Look around. We're going to do some action research. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 out of 11 out of 60. Let's see where we are in a year. Giving up landlines. Interesting. So you all, this is... Oh. Yeah. So, things are moving at a rapid pace. And the work of Project Parkway is to prepare our kids for that rapid pace. What's coming, what's already changed, and to help them respond when they get out there. So if it hasn't changed yet, by the time they get out there, they're going to have to know how to switch gears and turn on a dime. That is the work of Project Parkway. So tonight, we'll be doing work around mission and vision. We're going to want to hear from you at your tables. We're going to also ask you then to think about priorities for Parkway. And we'll end our evening talking about what should we be thinking about as we move into the next phase of the work. So before I introduce my colleague for tonight, I would like to recognize Representative Cole McNary joining us this evening, one of our state representatives. Thank you very much for being here. Honored to have such a diverse crowd. This is great. So you all, I would like to introduce to you Dr. Tim Hudson, who has been leading the work of our steering committee to come to some consensus and some final work on our mission and vision. He is going to take us through the draft in front of you and explain the different pieces that you're looking at, which are really indicative of Project Parkway is different.
Thank you, Jennifer. Good evening, and Jennifer did a great job of setting everything up, putting our mind in the right place to be talking about the future of Parkway, the future for our kids. It's a privilege to be the math coordinator here in Parkway and also to be working on the steering committee, helping facilitate the work we have moving forward. So hopefully, after tonight, you'll have a better understanding of this current draft document, and we're really excited to get your feedback, to hear what your thoughts are. We're going to have some good table discussions. One of my favorites on that list of the 100 things is I like how they called Laserdisc the LP of DVD. There's a lot you got to understand to get that one. I remember having Laserdiscs myself in school for a short period of time. But anyway, our goal for this next probably 45 minutes is for me to run through information on this latest draft document. As Jennifer pointed out, our mission and our vision are on the final draft, but we also have draft 1 of commitments. I'm going to talk a little bit about those, and draft 3 of learning principles is going to be clarifying the difference between these things, and then getting your feedback on mission, vision, and commitment. So, here we go. Is everybody ready? There was 8 people who are all ready. Yeah, okay, 9. There we go. Let's roll. So, as I just mentioned, our goal is to review this draft and then get your feedback. Clarify some rationale of why the steering committee has framed things this way to help better understand and what your thoughts are. Our community feedback. When we put out our last draft of the mission and vision, which was, I guess, February 1st, February 5th, somewhere around there, we got about 80 online comments back from the community related to the draft of mission and vision. And 2 of the huge comments that we got, a lot of people were asking, where are the Parkway staff in the mission? If you looked at the mission and vision from our previous draft and the learning principles, it didn't say anything about teachers, didn't say anything about custodians, secretaries, didn't say anything about math coordinators or superintendents either. Didn't say anything really about teaching math. So there were a lot of questions about where are the staff, where are the Parkway adults, as you see on your agenda for tonight, where are the adults? And then another question was, what is Parkway doing to accomplish this mission? It's fine to set this out as our goal, but then what is the Parkway difference? What is Parkway doing to make sure it happens? So this is a house diagram. I think we showed it at the last town hall meeting. It's been floating around on previous draft documents. It's on this current draft mission. And the mission and the vision are our foundation. That's the groundwork. That is our purpose, our existence, our reason for being. And as a learning institution, the next layer of the house are learning principles. If we were a hospital, we'd have a whole different set of principles. If we were an accounting firm, we'd have a whole different set of principles. But as a learning organization, learning is our business, so we have to establish those principles. Then everything else on up about our curriculum and assessment, personnel, you see it there, policies, structures, governance, this is where we really flesh out our commitments. Any school district has to set out commitments like this. Some set out the commitments before setting the mission. We're making sure that our mission is grounding all of our work. Sound good so far? Y'all are better nodders than you are hollerers, which I guess is okay. So if you were to think about this sort of in a nutshell, think about the mission is all about student outcomes. That's why we exist. Parkway in our community fulfills a unique role of providing education for the kids in our community. That is our purpose. And the vision is also about student outcomes. How do we know that we have been successful, that we have students who are capable, curious, and confident? And yeah, the world is ever-changing. There's a technology, I don't know if I'd call him a guru. His name's David Warlick. I've heard him speak a couple times. Some of you are familiar with him. He graduated, I think, in North Carolina in a coal mining town. And I think 1960 he graduated. And at that time, one of his math teachers, I don't know if he's a math teacher, maybe social studies, I'm not sure. She had taught for 30 years when she had him and taught 10 years after that. And he sort of joked that she really could teach the exact same class for those straight 40 years and really not change anything. He said, you know, she didn't really teach 40 years. She taught the same year 40 times, one of those sorts of deals. And she could, because there was no rapidity of change. But we know from looking at this list and from where it's going to be 3 years from now, you know, we have to be always looking at our student outcomes in light of that ever-changing world. The learning principles, those are about research. They all come out of, and I'll talk about this a little more later, work from books like this called How People Learn, published by the National Academy Press and the National Academy of Sciences, that we do know things about what it takes for the brain to make sense of knowledge and to learn information and acquire new skills and transfer them to new situations. So those are our principles, that's research. And now our commitments, because of the community feedback saying, where are the adults? Where are the teachers? What are we doing to make sure the mission is accomplished? As a steering committee, we set out to articulate some commitments, and you can see the first draft there. To make an analogy that might help this distinction a little bit, the U.S. Army, this is a graphic for their mission. And you can see they have 3 different missions during peacetime, conflict, and war. And then all of these different bullets, you can consider this the vision, so to speak. And here's their mission. During peacetime, we promote peace. During conflict, we resolve conflict and deter war. And then in wartime, we fight and win war. That is the mission. And if you look at the document, that upper part, it doesn't really say anything about generals or about soldiers or about tanks or anything like that. But at the bottom, as you see there, require a force that is organized, trained, and equipped. And we recognize in Parkway that we have to have teaching force, custodial force, bus driving force. We have to have all of these different team members working in concert to ensure that our mission is accomplished, which is those student outcomes. Everybody still with me? Fantastic. What about at home? Nobody's going to Skype in? Okay. I don't think my wife's watching. All right. I'll give her the recap when I get home. So, for example, one of our draft commitments, as you can see, is ensure students experience respectful learning environments that are safe, welcoming, and well-designed. Now, this is just a first draft statement, and we might revise it over the course of time. But you can see in here we have, bus drivers help make sure kids get to school to experience those learning environments. Principals and teachers are all about the respectful learning environment, safety, welcoming, well-designed. But then our nurses, our custodians, the front office secretary, the grounds crew, they all contribute to the school being a welcoming place. And then the well-designed, we got architects, we have building managers, all of these different team members working together just in this one commitment statement. And most of them are similar to that. So we're really looking forward to hearing your thoughts on these different pieces. And that's actually what we're going to do now at our table time. If you have any questions of clarification, I'll come around. We'll just go ahead and let you get to table work. You have on your table, everyone should have a yellow piece of paper. And we're just going to work on the front side of the yellow sheet right now. Make sure everybody has one. We're going to take some time as individuals to jot down our thoughts and answers to the questions on the yellow sheet. Then after a couple of minutes, after everyone's had a chance at your table to jot down your thinking on that front side of the yellow sheet, at that point, everyone at the table will converse and share ideas with the ultimate goal is to, on the one green sheet, sort of record consensus items that everyone reached at your table. So your individual thoughts will be captured when we collect the yellow pages, but then also your table consensus will be collected on the green sheet. So go ahead and take a couple minutes and think individually and jot down some ideas.
just going to talk a little bit while you are still doing your independent writing to set the stage for the next section. Each table has a group leader. And what we have asked the group leader to do is to kind of monitor your group, and as folks are done writing independently, group leaders, if you could make sure that every voice is heard around the table and just kind of facilitate that conversation. And if you could have on your green sheet of paper, just one person, just take some notes, but listen for the patterns. What we want on the green sheet are really what your group highlights as patterns as you hear from one another. And we will do a little bit of share out after your whole group conversation. So group leaders, start just kind of monitoring your table, and we'll let you begin table talk when you're ready. If you could check your pace and make sure that you're either on that last question on the page or just about there. We're going to wrap this section up in a few minutes. I'm sorry, I mean the last, on the first page. Don't turn it over yet. If you could take about 2 minutes to wrap this section up. Okay, group leaders, I am going to ask each table to share a highlight from your group, and I'm going to ask the group leaders to be the spokesperson, so take 1 minute. Emily's going to share? Okay, Emily will share for you. So group leaders, be ready. I'm going to have you guys be the spokespeople. Persons. All right, I'm going to start coming around. I'm going to get eye contact with one of our leaders because they're all ducking their heads at me. Hi, Dr. Maxey, you're looking at me. I'll come to your table first. I am hearing just some interesting, let me say, nuggets of clarification that I think are cool. And I'm going to highlight two that I've heard before we do this, and I'm going to put people on the spot and call you by name. Maura had a great question about commitments versus vision. And I heard your group leader just give a very succinct answer, and I hope it helped. It's the shift in the role. The vision is still all about our students. The commitments is all about the adult. So I hope that that helped, and I just wanted to raise that up. I heard another point of clarification from this table, and I'm sorry that I don't know your name. You didn't wear a name tag because you probably knew that I would call your name, sir. A gentleman who brought, I think, his son from West Middle School, we're so happy that he's here as well, had just some thoughts about the words on the page. It's a very cluttered little document right now. Who are you laughing? I know. Okay, who else talked about that? Go ahead. I know, Sue. But I also heard Dee Mogerman point out that, you know what, for the most part, what people are going to look at is the mission. And in fact, Tim's going to clarify for you in a little bit the role of learning principles. Those are going to be an internal piece. So we're going to help that document. So I'm glad that that bubbled up as well. So, Kathy, would you just give a quick shout out? Bridget?
Okay. Do I have to stand up? Yes, we do. I love this. First of all, before I share our edit, I just want to once again thank our high school students who are here. This awesome commitment they have, they deserve a round of applause. We hear your voices. Definitely. If you take a look at commitments, the second bullet, we were agonizing over the wording used, and after kind of going around and finally coming back to it, we have changed and made some edits to what we feel fully represents what we're trying to say. So we changed it to foster a school community that values rather than recognizes the uniqueness of students and believes in their ability to learn and succeed in any path they choose. I like it.
All right, somebody say, quick, write that down before we forget. Isn't that interesting how that little switch of, that's the second bullet on commitments, from recognizes to values? It changes the tone. These are kids? Well done. Well done. What was the last part, Bridget? In any path they choose.
Anthony was talking about it. We're really lucky, like Bridget said, to have the kids, that not every student in Parkway is college bound. And so we need to value whatever path they choose. And I think that really came from our crowd here. And then also the idea that recognizes is not enough. I see you are different. That's not enough. I value your differences. So those were the two changes. And again, way to go. That was a group table effort.
And I already gave our high school friends a heads up. We're going to split them up for the next part so you all can benefit. And we have a sixth grader from West Middle School who is keeping this table of board reps and superintendents and others in line, so that's your job. Oh, Sandy, your table, did somebody wave at me? Oh, he was from Claymont.
We said a lot of what you guys just said, to take into consideration that not all kiddos go to college, so to honor wherever they are headed in when they graduate. So we said reaching all students pre-K to 12 to prepare them for whatever their choices are going to be in the future. And then, I don't know if we were all wondering this, but maybe we should not use the word worthwhile. It seems kind of worthless. Like it's just kind of like at the end of the sentence. It just doesn't seem like it fits. I don't know. And I have another something, but it's not anything I want to talk about out loud. It just seems kind of like why did we say that? I don't know. Okay, you can say whatever.
What else? Becky, your table?
To piggyback on what she said, we were wondering if that statement isn't a little too much jargon. Guaranteed viable, I mean, it's like, it's very education-y.
I'm sorry. Okay, so Linda Scanlon, I saw your hand up. So let's think about that, because, and I'm going to call it out, parents, community members, kids, call us on the jargon. Call us on it. Linda, what's your idea?
Worthwhile to relevant. Let's change worthwhile to relevant, perhaps. Oh, is that in the beginning of it? Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, that's okay. But you know what? You have the editor over there. He is taking this all in. Okay, so another table that would like to share. Desi? Yes.
We didn't do as much editing, but we all talked about the same kind of things conceptually that the other tables are talking about. But I do want to comment on the things we liked. Some of the things that we liked in our... we felt that in mission and vision was inclusive, and we liked that it focused on our students. We thought that it was a practical skills, lifelong skills, no matter where students or graduates were on their journey. And then the commitments we thought did give some direction and guidance to adult behaviors. So we liked those things. But then we had a question on those commitments about how measurable are they? And so that was one thing that we were looking at to be considered.
And I think the measurement, how are we going to quantify this work, is a key piece of making this different. There is a book called, what's it called, Tim? You Can Measure Anything? And it really does talk about how you could measure things like creative, competent. It's an interesting book, but we have been studying that whole piece of it, is what are the metrics at Parkway, because that is what will make this work different. What else? Mr. Camp? You look like you're just dying. Yeah.
And that was, tell me what my class is going to do, how I'm going to use it in my life. Make the classes relevant to me. Remember that?
You remember that? You guys were there. We're going to come back to that. So that was a good segue, but it was too early. Very welcome. Elizabeth Mays, your group, would you like to?
Yes, as long as we're editing, one thing that we noticed, the third bullet from the bottom in the vision, always seeking to understand and respect the views, values, and cultures of others. And that came from somebody else, but I agree. And for the commitments, because this wasn't mentioned, we did have some discussion about the role of extracurriculars, sports, sportsmanship, and being physically responsible.
Okay, you ready? Yeah, that is a great example of commitments. Fiscally responsible, that is what we as adults commit to. You know what's funny is as people say things and you all go, yes, I said that too. Yes, we talked about that. You guys are funny. Even if your group didn't agree with you, at least you got a little shout out. I'm going to come back to Julie Pepper's group, and then, or more, you want to go with that, or? Okay. Who's talking? Go, Jill.
Okay, just in the mission, the last two lines, we were looking at possibly reconsidering the part where it says, curious and confident learners who understand and commit to the challenges of a 21st century world, or the 21st century. And then also we noticed there is somewhat of a conflict between the idea that we want students to choose their own paths, but we only offer specific paths, and especially how they are evaluated in those paths.
Anthony, did you hear that? That's kind of where you were going. This table, did we hear from you guys? Oh, Maury, okay. Anybody else that we have not heard from yet today or this evening regarding this part of the, what, Chris Chisholm?
Just the word technology is not in here anywhere, and that it's implied with ever-changing, but the word isn't in. I said it's implied with ever-changing, but it's not stated directly.
Where would that fall, Chris?
Well, we talked about it
in commitments.
I was talking about that too, and I brought that up in this group. You know, I said I work in science and technology. I work at a company that works in medical physics, and we don't hire Americans. We just don't. We import them. We hire them from afar. We work remotely, and made the distinction in this group between being a consumer of technology and a creator of technology. Understanding science versus doing science. We do a lot in Parkway of consuming technology, of understanding it, but they're few and far between that I've seen so far. And again, I've got a middle schooler, so I haven't seen the high school yet, but I know a couple of people in the high school, you know, the robotics teams and all that cool stuff, that create it, but I'd love to see a focus really in Parkway of we are going to set kids up who are interested in creating technology, in doing science.
Well said. Yep. All right, Desi. One more.
We did look, there was a question about the last bullet point in our group under commitments. And there was just a recognition that it didn't seem to fit necessarily. It was where was the placement for it? And there was a conversation, interestingly enough, when we were on the steering committee about the same thing, but it again involved at our table as well.
Did anybody else get to that bullet about nurture and appreciation of the arts? Maura, do you want to comment on that?
That was where we spent, I'd say most of our discussion was on that bullet point, in that we thought it was curious that the arts were specifically identified, and one of the teachers, I'm assuming you're a teacher, in our group mentioned STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. How those ideas were implied in some of the other statements, but not specifically called out the way the arts were. And we also then noticed that reading and writing weren't specifically mentioned. Communicating in general, speaking, listening, but not reading and writing.
Yeah, we need the science coordinator at your table with the decks kind of stacked. Thank you. What I would like to encourage you all, well, let me tell you next steps with this input. Your green sheet is very important, and we're going to take that. We will put all of your green sheets together, and if we don't, we'll begin verbatim, and we will transcribe them verbatim. We will look for patterns to bring forward to the steering committee and to the rest of Project Parkway. I would also encourage you on the Project Parkway website. If you have not yet been there, it is deep with information, and there is a place there to submit your comments as well online. I will tell you that Dr. Hudson has his BlackBerry set up to where, what do you get, a ding every time somebody submits? And he reads every comment. And that is his role for us. He reads them, and he brings it forward to the rest of us. So every comment is read and, I would say, addressed in some way through the group. So we are going to take these conversations around what our students will look like, sound like, and be like, and what we commit to do, and we're going to add another layer to it, because we have been working with an outside consultant on this, Dr. Grant Wiggins, and he has let us kind of revel in being Parkway and deciding what we agree upon, what we want for our students, and what we will commit to do. But then, this is what he's so good at, he says, all right, stop. What does science say? What does science say about the way that our brains make meaning? And that's what Tim's going to take us into next. But before we do that, here's what I would like you to do. I want you to stand up, right where you are. Oh, that feels good. Oh, our little sixth grader jumped right up. We wish we had that energy. Stretch. There, Diana, stretch it. Come on. Because here is one thing we know. In order for our brains to make sense, you've got to get the blood from pooling out of your bottom and your feet and get it back up to your brain. So stretch, take a look around, meet somebody at a table that's not your table, and then come back to your seat. Oh, it feels good to stretch. Okay, and once you have met at least 2 new people, come back and sit down. I know. All right, if you could move back to your seat and feel free to come recruit a student. You stay there. Come recruit a student. Julie Harrison, recruit. Come on, Diana. Hi. Grab one. Are you coming to grab one? Oh, good. Oh! Grab a student. You have one, right? You grab one. You grab one. Woo! I think we might still be short. Okay, here we go. Oh, I knew these two were going to find each other right here. I knew. All right. So, we split them up a little bit, Emily. And we are ready. Thank you to our students for splitting up a little bit. I appreciate that. Before we jump in and Tim takes you into a little bit of research, I'm going to ask you to do one more, well, no, actually there's another one, so never mind. Your second, but it's easy. Your second independent right, and it's easy, and it's fast. I want you to answer the question that I'm going to pose quickly in one line, one bullet. Okay. Here's your question. And then, once everyone at your table has it, and don't share, I really do want you to do a quick round robin around your table and just listen. Okay? All right, here's your question. How do you learn best? It should be that quick. Okay, your table should be just about done except for our double table over here. And really just do a round robin and let everybody get theirs out.
All right. You may have heard some commonalities at your table as you went around. Hopefully you all enjoyed learning. Maybe at a certain point you stopped enjoying learning. Hopefully not, but maybe. I won't ask you to raise your hands if you stopped enjoying learning. One of the things that our outside consultant, Grant Wiggins, talked to us about on the steering committee is that when they first were doing this work, and what sort of distinguishes their work around mission from other consultants is this layer of learning principles, that they were finding that it was difficult for a learning institution to actually make progress implementing a mission and getting a collaborative effort across the entire school community without setting out these learning principles. And we'll talk a little bit about why. So this is a key piece. And you'll notice even in the language that on the sheet, the learning principles, it says, as a learning institution, we commit to ensuring learners. This is actually, like it shows up there, one of our commitments, because this is what happens in people's brains when the learning begins. I want to first start by talking about an analogy. I mentioned that most of these principles come out of really the first 25 pages of this book, How People Learn, which is a collection of research over the past several decades. here's an analogy that will sort of help distinguish mission, vision, learning principles, and commitments. And for some of you, you've seen this example once or twice before. But let's say we, instead of a school district, we're the Olympic Strength Training Center, helping the, I don't even know what they're called. You got the bench press, and you got the deadlift. You know what I'm saying? There's these people with larger muscles than me, right? And if the mission is to have a gold medal in the bench press, that's the mission. And then the vision sort of, what does that look like? Well, maybe we have the world record for bench press, which that's actually it. I learned on the internet. Now, a principle, sort of a research-based principle of strength training, you can't get around it. You have to use resistance to muscle contraction. That is a principle of strength training. No one's muscles are growing at all unless that one thing happens. So, if we are the Olympic Strength Training Center, then we might lay out some commitments. We might say, all right, we're going to have state-of-the-art equipment for you to work on. We're going to have a daily routine, sort of our curriculum to build your muscles. We're going to strategically match athletes with a trainer, find a couple people who have a similar style, a similar demeanor, who really get along to help work out. And then there's an underlying belief that maybe something like athletes perform better when their coach believes they can succeed. That's sort of how it would break out if we were the strength training center. It kind of doesn't matter. You know, different strength training centers might have different commitments. You might have one who doesn't commit to state-of-the-art equipment. Maybe they're like an old-school strength training center where they're training like Rocky, and you go out back and pull a plow or like throw logs or something like that. Maybe they're not state-of-the-art. But both places are using resistance to muscle contraction. Doesn't matter what the environment is or what the circumstances are. As long as your muscles are contracting, then your muscles are growing. So for schools, we talk about our commitments. Well, we commit to believing in each child's ability to learn and succeed. So a student gets to school and says, you know what, my teacher believes in me. My school is safe. We commit to having safe schools. I'm healthy. We want kids to be healthy. We could even throw in there, I've had breakfast this morning. We can say my classroom is well designed. You could even say my teacher knows the technology they have. I have the best equipment. So under those conditions, which not everyone has the luxury of, well, now what? Now it's time for the learning to take place. Now it's time for the mind to engage. These conditions alone don't cause the learning. This is what we as adults have done to set the stage to engage the minds of learners. And it's not just kids. It's true for everybody. So now what? So you think principles, they're objective. They're fairly neutral. It's about exercising the brain. So the learning principles come from the book How People Learn. Strength training principles would come from biophysics research. And then soccer principles, if you have a soccer team, principles of good soccer come from books on theories of soccer, that you have to close off the space on defense, and you have to break open the defense if you're on offense, those sorts of things. So on our previous draft of learning principles, we got a lot of feedback. And on this next draft, we incorporated it, but we also drew more from the research and have supporting documentation to show that as a learning institution, this is the research that's informing our learning business. As Jennifer mentioned, for this next draft of learning principles, the input is largely going to be collected from educators within our district, because these are the things that we have to agree to and commit to. I wouldn't comment on medical principles or principles of accounting, because that's not my area of expertise. But as a learning institution, we're taking all of our input on these from our educators. So let's see. I think that's a bit about the learning principles. And as you read through them, you know, even the very first one, understand the purpose and outcomes of their learning. I don't know that I've ever learned anything without knowing the reason for it. We were talking about relevance. That's sort of a huge thing.
So would you please take a look at those learning principles? Circle where you fit, or circle where your children fit. You see yourself? You see your kids? Talk a little bit at your table about this, just to someone close to you, about those learning principles. Okay, I'm not going to give you a whole lot of time with this piece of the puzzle, so about 1 more minute at your table. I had Tim put our graphic back up. As we kind of wrap these 4 chunks that are all crammed onto one piece of paper up. Okay, could I draw your attention up to our house? Okay, because I want to play this out for you all. Some people ask us. In fact, I was interviewed today for PCH TV. That's Parkway Central High School TV. Thank you very much. One of the questions that we get asked a lot as steering committee members is, really, how is this going to change things? What will be different? More cowbell. Okay? Let me play it out for you. I wish I could figure out how to use that little clicker. Give me the red thing. The dot. Okay. All right. You ready, Mr. Hack? See, Tim, this is not okay that I can't figure this out. Okay. Oh, there. Yeah, I got it. Now the kids could do this. All right. Here you go, Mr. Hack. This is how it's different. We are talking, we are agreeing about what we are in business to achieve. Okay, this is why we are the Parkway School District. Here's their vision. Here's how we're going to know. We're going to see these things in action. All right? This is all about our kids. Now, we add that layer of science. This is what science says about the way that people learn, the conditions under which people learn best. Now, that is going to change the rest of the house. Because as we begin to internalize those learning principles, we have to change the way we do things. That's how it's going to be different. That's how you're going to feel this change. So even if you pick any one of those learning principles, hi Carol, excuse me. If you pick any one of these learning principles, let's go with the first one. That our learners understand the purpose and outcomes of their learning as well as the standards. Then that means that classroom teacher, I got to design my lessons, everything I do, So that my learners, Emily, this is what you're talking about, so that my learners know what they're doing and how they will be measured and what success looks like. That changes the way I do things. Okay? That changes the way I assess. That changes the practices that we have in place with our programs. It changes the way we hire, the way we interview, the way we evaluate. That's why we have to spend so much time on this bottom layer of the house. And that's the way I explain it to folks, that that's when we will begin to see real change. So that learning principles piece is key. And as Tim said, this is right now, there's a lot of internal conversation going on within the educators. Because we really want to be sure that we understand what those mean and we understand the implications. So that, just so you know, let me do it like this. On the inside, that's where our conversation is. It's around those learning principles. So classroom teachers, I'm looking at you guys. You got to be thinking about it. How will this change things? Now, I'm going to do this. On the outside, on the other side of Project Parkway, which I alluded to before as far as our gathering data to determine current reality, it's our needs assessment. We've been working with over 300 volunteers. Some of you are in the room. Are there subcommittee people in the room? I know there are. Raise your hand. Come on. Subcommittee folks are in the room. There's more than you than that. There you go. They're just shy. We have been working for 9 months to gather data on current reality. What we did was we broke down our 3 district goals, and we looked to what we really wanted to find out about those 3 district goals. So our first goal is all students will achieve. So then we broke it down into 8 questions that we wanted to answer relative to that goal. They're all online, and we're going to actually reveal the findings on April 19th. I really, really encourage you to come on April 19th and comb through the findings with us. We will be at South High. We will be in the theater for just a quick bit, and then we're going to move to the cafeteria, and we have created, we hope, kind of a cliff notes of the findings from the, listen to this, 30 subcommittees. Right now, the document is like this. We'll only give that to the board. No, I'm kidding. We are condensing it for that evening. We're not taking anything out. We're just trying to get the highlights of it, and all of it will be online. And this is the findings of the committees, excuse me. So we will put those forward. Then the work begins on kind of almost like phase 2. Because based upon those findings of where we are, now the work begins. Because we will have, here's where we are. Okay, we're going to set this incredibly lofty mission, and we're going to see gaps. We know that. We know that there are going to be places where, whoa, we need to improve, and we need to close the gaps. We know that there are places where we are hitting it right on the head. And you will get pictures of that on April 19th. The work then will move into a time of prioritizing and conversations around, whoa, what comes first? How do we do this? And then we'll move into task force work and action planning. So you all are the first group to be asked this question. And you have to promise that you'll do the first part independently. You've been pretty good tonight, though. I think you'll do it. On the back of your yellow sheet, welcome, Mr. Davis. Another board member is here tonight. Independently, you all, what's your gut reaction to that question? In your opinion, what should be Parkway's main priorities? And you'll notice I'm not even giving you a nibble of what we're seeing in the findings. Not even a nibble. I really just want you to go from your gut. What should be our priorities? And I would want you to do some independent writing. I want you to very secretly, you remember when you were little and you were taking a test and you put your folder up so nobody could see your answers? I want you to check your top 5. And what? Or write in others in that next part of the question. And these were just pieces of the study. These items that we listed here, these were just things that were just part of the needs assessment process. And we want to see where your table falls. So on your green sheet, we're going to ask for a tally. So here's your task. I'm going to say it again. Independently, write under number 3, and then very secretly fill out number 4. When everyone is ready, do some sharing out at your table. And on your green sheet, please capture the work of your group, because we'll put that into some feedback for the steering committee as they begin the conversations around prioritizing. Group leaders, I'll let you again just kind of monitor and start your group when your group's ready. I see our groups have moved to voting, and I'm good with that. So, leaders, make sure you do get your vote, because I'm going to make you share your top 5. Ooh. Just because I've had so many Kit Kats tonight, I'm pretty wired. I have changed my mind. Here's what we're going to share out. Your add-ins. Oh, I want to hear what you added. Because that's what those lines were for. So I want to hear your add-ins. You got your add-ins? We're going to let one more group, Julie Pepper's group, still rolling. All right. Desi, would one of your students like to share your add-ins? Drew? Drew, you had a good one. No, come here. Come here. Bring your list. Can you read his writing? Can you read his writing? Yes. No, it's because you're such a good Okay. Drew, our 6th grader from West Middle School, is going to read the add-ins from his table.
One of ours was Bring Back the DARE program. We had, I can't read that, middle school.
Let me tell you, elementary exposure to foreign language.
Oh, elementary exposure to foreign language. And then, middle school start times. We had one of our people say, why does middle school have to start first? Why can't high school start first? Well, I disagree with that, but.
Give me your last one.
And then, hold on.
Partnering with special school.
Oh, better partnering with special school districts.
Thank you, Beth. All right, and I'm going to go to a table where I know we had a shout out about foreign language. Who's going to? Do you guys have add-ins you want to share? Jeremy, Anthony, you guys.
Okay, just give me all these. Okay, our add-ins were a longer school year, The need to add spelling and cursive back into the curriculum. And balancing literacy. And then the global nature of education. And then the importance of other languages, which ties into this group over here. And then educate students efficiently. And then good teaching that good teachers who want to teach the kids.
Thank you, Anthony. Okay, this table, Nancy Suter's table. Mary?
I guess I'm the add-ins? Okay. The add-ins are year-round school, more teacher leadership training, and more remediation opportunities for elementary school kiddos. Our student left her, she would have done it. She was a lot cuter than me. She was darling.
Excuse me, Sandy Collins, you'll love this. More fine art programs. Flexibility in hiring staff. And start the day at a later time. And another is bring in more community sponsors, role models as educators to demonstrate relevance of curriculum.
Thank you. This table? Great. Sharon or who? Okay, whoever.
Yes, tell them we only had one.
Okay. Wait. Longer school day and school year.
I know. I didn't make him do it, just Drew, because I knew what his was. Dan, are you going to do your tables, or is Bridget? Who's doing yours? Bridget? She's ready. She's been preparing.
Okay. Continual assessment and assessment should drive instruction. Students should be valued for their achievements, professional development, and not forgetting our highest level learners and accelerating them as well.
Now, you all, I shared these out, and like I said, we will post our tallies just so we'll make sure that everybody in this room gets an email notification that your information is posted so you can see the results. But I also want to impress upon you, this was an exercise in a first dip at prioritizing. This work we have had questions about. Now, don't you all really know what's going to happen? And honestly, I just cannot impress upon people enough. The work begins on prioritization and decisions once we get past April 19th. I really just cannot say that enough. So I'm going to invite you again to April 19th. Come and hear, come and have time to discuss the findings from the 30 subcommittees, and think about a place where you fit in phase 2. What task force might you want to be a part of as we move forward? So we will have that meeting in April. We'll have another kickoff meeting in August, and I would invite all of you to that. Also, if you look on your agenda, we have 2 more town halls set up for next school year as well. Also, if you get home and you want to watch this again, we are streaming it live. If you want to have your students watch it, we are streaming it live. But again, trying to think of different ways to include more people. So, a final thought?
You know, I think Jennifer may have said this, but the goal, the long-term goal is December next year. We have a 5-year plan that itemizes all of our priorities and what Parkway is going to be committed to work on for the next 5 years. That draft will go out in December to all of our schools, who will start writing their goals for the next 5 years, and we are very committed to a long-term plan. And so once that happens, the steering committee stays in place, town hall meetings continue to monitor the goals and the measurements. So that's where we're headed, and it's an exciting time. So thanks.
And thank you also to you all. Let's wait real quick. Our kids, our students who are here tonight, thank you very much. Now go home and go to bed. Get your homework done. Thank you, thank you, thank you.